Milan. So I've recently been writing a story on Escape from Tarkov. I'm still writing it, of course, but thought it would be fun to write it like this and just speak it. So I'm the one who does all the cover art on the backgrounds for these. This is what's his name? It's the sniper dude. Zirichi? You know what, I don't really care how you say it anyway. Yeah, Zirachi. But yeah, this will be the first part on I don't know how many parts there is, depending on how many stories I write. But yeah, hope you all enjoy. And leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want more. Part 1, Uncertain Beginnings. Side note. All of what is spoken between everyone except conversations between USEC or rogues is Russian unless otherwise clarified. Not far from Lighthouse. The rain pattered on the hood of the wrecked car he laid beside, peering carefully down the path between two wooden boat shacks. He had heard something moving at the other end of the building. Footsteps. Heavy, purposeful footfalls of thick rubber-soled boots on weathered boards. "Scav, we need to get out of here," a low, gravelly voice said in Russian from behind him. "Not yet, Alec." "They said we meet them here. So we meet them here," Scav replied, his eyes narrowing as he peered down the iron sights of his worn AKS. He shifted his head a little, blowing softly to move a water droplet off the rear sight, and when he looked back up, he saw a squad of 6 PMCs. "Puka!" Scav called and challenged, flicking the selector switch to full auto just in case. The PMCs all paused before one called, "Chut chut," as the response phrase. Scav slowly stood up out of the overgrown weeds and patted the wet dirt from the knees of his pants as Alexander scratched at the unruly black stubble on one cheek. "Genuine? A little bit?" he asked, and Scav shrugged, adjusting the old army cap to lower the brim down over his brows. "It works for the stupid bears to remember." The 6 PMCs approached carefully, seeming wary. "I warn you now, Scav, no funny business. You guide us around trouble, no traps. If you lead us into a trap, our deal is often you die." Alexander snorted. "Same goes for you lot. Your dog tags sell for a pretty amount on the market," he growled back as he squinted at the PMCs. "I was killing in the Balkans while you were in diapers." Scav raised a hand. "Enough of this. Boris, where are we leading you?" The leader of the squad of PMCs was thoughtful for a while before he hesitated. "We need to get to the Terra Group labs located up north." "I know where it is," Scav grumbled, as Alexander crossed his arms, letting his taws hang from its improvised sling. "Why did we meet you here then, We have to travel several kilometers over bad terrain with 6 chumps that stand out like a flare in the night. Why not meet us closer to your objective?" he growled, getting up in Boris' face. Boris met Alexander's eyes evenly, his face hiding any inkling of his irritation. If you cannot make the trek so far, old man, then maybe you should go back to your box and hunker down, eh?" Alexander seemed about to retort before Scav grabbed him by the collar and pulled him back. "We need the money, Alec," he said softly, leaning in close as he lowered his voice. "We still owe Kaban for your medicine, remember? It's not worth the risk, Scav," Alexander exclaimed. "Fuck the money, this is a death march." "Alec, are you in or are you out?" Scav asked him flatly, clenching his jaw. "You do not have to come along. I won't force you. I can always ask Lev to." Alexander cut him off. "I do not trust Lev." "Then are you coming with me or not?" Scav asked a final time, and Alexander sighed heavily and slowly nodded. "Yes, fine, damn you, I'm coming along." "Good, then let's get out of the rain before the bears get cold feet, eh?" Scav joked with a small smile, and Alexander nodded, chuckling softly and patting Scav's shoulder. "We still owe Gus a bottle of Pevco Light for him helping us out with the disgruntled gang boss that one time, too." "We can stop by one of my caches in the woods and pick up a bottle," Scav replied, and one of the PMCs perked up. "Beer?" Boris turned and cuffed him upside the head gently. "Not for you, stupid," he replied, and the other PMCs laughed. Scav led the way down the road, halting occasionally to peer through the rain off both sides of the road, with Alexander walking behind him and a little to the right, with the bears moving in a staggered air behind them, wary and nervous of every little sound out in the woods. Alexander took notice and chuckled. "Relax, comrades. There's no USEC all the way down here. The idiot at the lighthouse and the cultists have made sure of it," he said, and a few of the bears relaxed a little, one loosening the straps of his plate carrier a little. Boris upped his pace a little to get up behind Scav. "What are we going to do about the rogues? We have to pass through the water treatment plant, right?" Scav looked thoughtful for a moment as he kicked a broken chunk of asphalt down the road. I can try to talk to them. You and your men will have to stay hidden, since they still do not like you bears. I thought they were ex-USEC, Boris replied in slight puzzlement, and Scav nodded. They are. They still hold a grudge, I guess, he replied with a shrug, as he checked that his AKS had chambered correctly and smiled. It'll be a dash to get through the plant, sure, but it's not so bad. Says the one that trades with them, Boris grumbled, and Scav shrugged. It's not so easy in the zone, you know that. I'm just lucky sometimes. Sure, lucky, Boris replied, before he lowered his voice. You know how to get to the labs, right? As I said before, my friend, I know how to get many places. I've only been to the labs one time, though, and never inside, Scav replied. Too many angry fuckers with big guns. I'd rather risk trading for Iskra rations with jumpy rogues than go in there. We'll need you there to guide us back out, Scav, Boris replied, and Scav grimaced. I know, I just don't like the idea of hiking all the way up into the mountains without much in the way of food. I almost starved the last time I went up there. We can give you and your friend food. That's not a problem, Boris replied dismissively, and Scav hesitated. Will it come out of the money? No, Boris said firmly, and Scav nodded a little in relief. Good, because we need every ruble and American dollar we can find, he admitted, before he gestured for everyone to follow him while crossing a marginally wider street towards a few old, run-down-looking buildings. Be careful to call out before you shoot at anyone. Not every scavenger in here wants to kill you lot, Scav called, trotting across the road and checking around for a moment before he waved for them across to follow. 2 hours later, Scav munched on a tin of sprats, humming softly to himself before one of the bears shifted a little closer to him. So, Scav paused, lowering the sprat back into the tin and wiping his fingers off on his pant leg. So, he prompted. 2 hours later, Scav munched on a tin of sprats, humming softly to himself before one of the bears shifted a little closer to him. So, Scav paused, carefully lowering the sprat back into the tin and wiping his fingers off on his pant leg. So, he prompted. 2 hours later, Scav munched on a tin of sprats, humming softly to himself before one of the bears shifted a little closer to him. So, Scav paused, carefully lowering a sprat back into the tin and wiping his fingers off on his pant leg. So, he prompted. The bear hesitated for a moment, thinking, Why are you called Scav? Don't you have a name? Boris cuffed the man with an eye roll. Of course he has a name, you idiot, he grumbled before Scav raised a hand to stop Boris. I'm called Scav because it is short, people remember it, and it's easier to say quickly if I need to be warned of something. Is that good enough? The bear mulled over what he had said for a moment before he nodded and sat back down against the wall. It was beginning to get dark again, and Scav got up to check on Alexander, who was sitting on the front porch smoking a cigarette and keeping watch. So we're trying to sneak 6 bumbling fools past a bunch of other bumbling western fools, and hope we don't get shot? Alexander mused, handing the cigarette to Scav. He took a short drag from it and blew the smoke up into the air, sighing. Pretty much. Are you still so sure it's worth it? We'll have to pass through some pretty sketchy shit to take them where they want to go. We can make enemies we don't want, Scav, Alexander noted gently, and Scav nodded, handing the cigarette back and adjusting his faded olive army cap. I know that, but we don't have much choice. We need to get what the bear groups barter to us. Without it, we'd have been dead in a trash pile a long time ago. Still, working with them leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It doesn't feel right, Alexander replied quietly as he puffed on a cigarette. That bad taste may just be your cigarettes, Scav teased, and Alexander swatted at him with a chuckle. Oh, shut up, you. We'll have to find you some strikes or something, because those are awful, Alec. Shut up and go back inside. Let me smoke in peace, Alexander grumbled, shooing Scav away. Scav snorted and stood, stepping back into the cottage. You, he pointed at one of the bears, move. Why? The bear challenged, before Boris gestured and the bear moved, cleared the way. Scav crouched down and took his knife out, prying up one of the loose floorboards and taking out a bottle of Tarkovskaya vodka. All of the bears except Boris seemed puzzled. How do you know that was there? One queried, and Scav chuckled. I know a drunk bastard who hides alcohol along his roaming paths, and he always put the bottles in the same place. He won't mind if I take this. Much. Boris chuckled as Scav tossed him the bottle, and he cracked it open, taking a long drink of it and coughing a little. Shit, this stuff is strong. Yeah, that bottle was made before they started watering the stuff down in some regions. Cheap bastards, Scav mused, taking the bottle back and knocking back a mouthful before he held it out to another bear, who hesitated. Scav sighed. The bottle's not going to bite you. Take a drink. The bear carefully took the bottle and took a little sip, and gagged, the other bears laughing at him as he quickly passed it off to another. Alexander suddenly rushed in. Several moving out in the darkness looked to be cultists. How many did you see exactly? Boris asked quickly, snatching up his AK-104 and peering out one of the windows. 2. There might be a third, but I couldn't see them out that well. Alexander replied as Scav took his pistol out. Don't let them stab you. They put poison on their blades that will kill you. There are cultists in the zone? One bear said in confusion. I thought they were a legend. A joke. No, they're a very real problem for PMCs, Scav replied. Barricade the windows with what you can. They might try to sneak a grenade in here, he said, going to shut the front door before a black-robed figure suddenly filled the door flame, and he yelled and fell backwards, firing off 2 shots. As he hit the cultist, he saw a grenade drop to the floor. Shit! Grenade! He yelped, diving into the bathroom as the others ducked behind what they could. The grenade went off, busting the open door halfway off its hinges, and peppering the walls and ceiling with bits of shrapnel. Scav groaned. Hello? He called, his voice muffled under the ringing in his ears. Faintly he could hear the bears firing out at 2 of the windows, and Boris trying to yell instructions over the shooting. Another cultist tried to rush the front door before Alexander popped out into the entryway and fired into them, blasting them twice with his tawse before fumbling reload. Scav pulled himself groggily to his feet and shook his head in a vain attempt to clear it of its ringing, before he felt a hand on his shoulder. You got your shitting pants on, comrade? Boris asked him, and Scav coughed and pushed him away in irritation. Not funny. Where's the last cultist? The one with the freaky mask? Alexander exclaimed, and the bears all chorused back with confused and uncertain responses, making Alexander curse under his breath. Eventually everything quieted down, and the rain ebbed off into a faint mist. None of them rested well the rest of the night. End of part 1.